let's take a look at some portable VCRs that has been requested, so I'm going to do it. Specifically the National or Panasonic NV-180, which is what this one is, and derivatives or similar things. I don't know what one comes first. We've got here, well, NV-180 is typically what it would be called. Well, you find these in PAL regions. You find pretty much the same thing in Japan as the AG-2400, or in North America from Panasonic. And this one here, it's a PV-8000. And it comes from 1985. It's a good year. There are a few differences between these three machines. We'll take a good look at them here. The colors are a bit different. So that's PAL. These ones are both NTSC. That's the Japan NTSC. These are both mono VCRs, whereas this is stereo, although it's not hi-fi stereo. There's another version of this which is hi-fi stereo, and we'll take a look at it in a different video, a future video. I've got a whole bunch of these. The interesting thing about these models is, as well as being branded as National Panasonic, depending on the region, there are also a number of other machines which, as far as I can tell, are identical internally, but they're given other brand names and the front panels are different. And I've got a whole stack of those, so we'll take a look at them at some point, and of course we'll try them out. It's a fairly straightforward VCR, or portable VCR. Front panel here is a power switch. There's the it's a power switch that can be magnetically switched off if there's a problem, and probably also if the battery goes low. Standard VCR transport, top loading. There's the eject button. There's tape select, which is used for the remaining time counter. Then for the NTSC versions, then there's the LP, the long play. There's camera remote, which chooses whether you're controlling it by this panel or by the one that's on some models of camera, not all though. And there's a wired remote control connector. I need to grab the wired remote since I forgot to do that. There we go, the wired remote control. Nice cable, it's a bit dusty. And this multi-pin plug goes into there and gives you access to these functions from a distance, or some distance from the machine. And that uses a serial data protocol to convey these through some kind of shift register thing back to the machine. On the side here, slight differences. Let's see, they all have the 10-pin camera connector there. The PAL region uses BNC for video, and there's an audio out and microphone input. They come with an adapter that allows you to put line level signals into the mic input. I should get one of those out to show as well next time perhaps. I'll probably do several videos on these since I have so many of these machines that we'll need to try out. So yeah, get ready for that. So the stereo version, 2 mic inputs, and presumably stereo earphone instead of an audio out. And the video in and out are RCA connectors on the NTSC models. So also there's a couple of selections there. Selections, mono or stereo, noise reduction, and whether you're using, or what you're listening to, left, right, or left plus right. And there's also a channel selector for the RF output. So on the back there, they have this connector which can go to either a power supply that also has an RF output, so it plugs onto that whole thing, or a tuner timer unit which can make this function like a standard home VCR. For powering directly, there's a battery slot on this side here, and There are various power supply units available from different manufacturers. The General Electric one, wide voltage input, so that allows you to plug in the VCR and just pop that into there. Except this GE one does not fit into all models, which is interesting. There must be something slightly different about its latch, because it goes fine in that one. Let's see, so here's a National branded one. Worldwide voltage input, switch mode power supply. The battery can be charged out from these. There's a little adapter that plugs in there and clips onto those terminals of the battery to charge it. Let's just see. See, that clicks into there fine. And it clicks into here fine. So what's different about these? It might be just a very slightly different shape of, well, doesn't look that different, does it? Anyway, there's a slight incompatibility between the power supplies. Alright, that's fine. So we're going to put these NTSC units aside for now, and we'll look at the power one. There's a reason for that. Multiple reasons. One is I've never tried to use this one. I've probably got 8 or so of this model, and this is, I think, one that came in most recently, and I don't think I've ever tried to use it. The other thing is, right here, I've got the camera that came with it, which is a POW model. National, how do they do these ones? WVP-A2. It's a camera with autofocus, Nuvicon tube, and that's a stereo camera, I believe. And you see it has got VCR controls there: slow, review, play, cue, and then record or play mode on the VCR. And I'm pretty sure I've never tried this camera out either. I don't know, it's just been sitting over that way on the corner of the bench, gathering a lot of dust and waiting for this moment. There's the 10-pin camera connector. So that goes in there. Screw it in, nice. And we'll join up a video out connection so we can see what's going on. So there's a switch. Anyway, these cameras have a titling unit. You can plug into that connector and it goes on the back there. It says use for title card. Okay. Then there's power switch on it somewhere. I thought that was down here. No, it's here. Standby or on. Okay. And I think sort of a 1/2 or 3/4 inch CRT viewfinder in there. I think we took this one apart in another video, didn't we? When we're looking inside a Sony camera, and I think we took apart this viewfinder at that point to see the CRT in it, but that was a pretty long time ago. Alright, let's power this thing up. Make some good noises. And, oh, look at that. It did a nice tube warming up thing. Look at that. Might as well connect up this remote as well. So the serial data protocol that's used for this remote is also used on the cameras to do the transport control from the cameras. Look at that, wonderful picture there. A power zoom, maybe? No, that's ruined. I can hear the motor running, so I guess the belt that's in there is perished. That's pretty common now with these old things. So you gotta manually set the white balance on these usually. If we put it to indoor light, rather than outdoor. I think that will put a little color filter over it maybe. And then just hit the white balance button when it's pointing at something that's white and evenly illuminated. And yeah, look at that perfect color. Great camera. Should we take this top off just so we can see the tape transport running? We're going to take this fully apart, surely. Well, the reason why I started doing this video is because someone asked about the type of video heads that are used in these machines. I think multiple people have asked about them because they have problems with the grease drying out that's used as a bearing in this type of head, the head motor that's used in this mechanism. It probably just works fine. Maybe? No. It looks like dirty heads. Could be a tracking issue. No, it's just got a very noisy picture. That's not in sync either. So these machines have a very compact mechanism, one of the most optimized VCR mechanisms that I've encountered in old machines. So there's separate motors for each reel, and capstan motors separate, and there's a loading motor which moves a few things, but it's a very simplified mechanism that makes this thing thin and lightweight. It's not the best, is it? The picture's very dirty, noisy looking. Anyway, let's take it apart and we'll give it a go, cleaning it up a little bit. And what we want to do, let's try running this remote just for fun. You go, play from the remote. Great. So if we try using this camera. It does nothing. But if we put the switch on the front of the VCR into a remote, now, let's look at that. We can control it by these controls here. There's forward, rewind, slow, and if we push that up, we can go into record mode, and we should be able to hit the button on the camera, and there you go. Now we're recording. Let me reset the counter on this. And the viewing angle of that screen's a bit. And we'll just record for a little while. At 3 hours, 30 minutes remaining. It's about right for the amount of tape that's in there. Yeah, so this is the sort of thing, you've put a shoulder strap on this that goes into those, and then you'd lug this around. Batteries go in where we put the power supply at 2 amp hour, 12 volt batteries, lead acid, and then this is your camera, and you take that to your day out in the park and record some precious memories with your family, or take it to your kids' sports game or whatever on. Yeah, because cameras were big, VCRs were big, they hadn't yet been combined into one convenient unit. Although this was around about the time when this was manufactured that there were starting to be the VHS type video cameras. But yeah, up to that happened, they were always separate units. A lot of this is a very compact camera compared to a lot of them of this time. We'll take a look at some eventually because I have a whole room full of various cameras on this style with the cable. A whole bunch of models similar to this one, bigger, other manufacturers. Because it's in remote, we can't control it from here. Can we still control it by this? Nope. When it's set on remote here, you can only control it by the thing. Because we made it local now. Let's just have a look. That's probably not going to work well because it looked like the heads were dirty. Oh, look at that. It recorded fine. Maybe the heads aren't dirty. Maybe there was something up with the tape. Could be that the tracking of that tape was way off compared to this machine. Maybe the alignment of this is out, and so it couldn't track onto that pre-recorded tape. I don't know, but it seems to be working well there. Interesting. This also doesn't seem to have the problem that many face of the head vibrating, but it might take a while for that to show up. So we should probably just leave it running for quite a long time. So I've got here a training manual for these machines, and that tells you all about this. This training manual contains the descriptions of new circuits allowing service technicians to understand the National Panasonic compact and lightweight portable VHS video tape recorder model NV-180, their tuner timer, and the AC adapters. The main luminance chrominance circuits of the NV-180 are identical to those of the NV600 or NV380 EM. That's interesting. Did we look at an NV380? Is that like a normal home style VCR? I'm not sure. Or was that another portable one? I don't know. That name doesn't ring a bell. The new NV180 employs a new 2 double video head system featuring super still advanced playback without jitter or distortion, superfine slow motion, a fifth of normal playback speed, which can be adjusted between 1/3 and 1/25 via the remote control unit. It is here to access the slow motion. Oh look, it works perfectly now. Maybe it was head clogging and running it for a while has wiped that off. I have no idea. That's very interesting. And we're probably going to get in trouble for playing a movie here. I'll see what happens. It might have to get blanked out. Anyway, to access the variable speed slow motion, you have to use this remote, because you get the ability to use the plus and minus buttons, which don't exist on the front panel. It's only got a slow button on the front panel. 7 times playback speed for cue and review, insert editing, audio dubbing, tape time remaining indicator, camera remote control capability, and a multifunction display. So there's a description here of quite a lot of things. Trick play, 2 double video head. It's effectively a 4-head VCR because it's got double heads on each of the 2 heads. And the reason for that is the angle of the heads are slightly different, so when you go into those slow and fast motion, it will switch to the other heads, which will follow tracks better. And that's all explained there for the different speeds. Superfine slow, similarly. Now, this is the bit we're interested in. It's the hydrodynamic bearing direct drive cylinder. That's what we come here to talk about. And maybe I'll have to get out one of the other machines where it doesn't work. I'll just hidden that for a while so we can look at this. So it says, in this completely redesigned direct drive video head cylinder with the hydrodynamic bearing, a novel oil film type bearing is employed instead of the conventional ball bearings. The cylinder rotates around the shaft without being in direct contact because of the oil film between them. The precision grooves on the thrust plate and shaft, figure 1, thrust plate, shaft, are processed using The precision grooves on the thrust plate and shaft are processed using special techniques. if the rotary cylinder rotates, a pressure is generated in the center portion of the shaft due to the groove. Therefore, the rotary cylinder can be got the... What is this? The rotary cylinder can have, presumably, accurate rotation with non-contact. Conventional ball bearings need a certain distance between the bearings, but this is not necessary with a hydrodynamic bearing, resulting in thinness. So what they mean then is to get everything nice and stable and the little tiny bit of slop that ball bearing race has, you need to have them a certain distance away from each other to avoid any rocking in this plane. But because of this, there's a pretty near contact that whole length, and it's very tightly or precision machined. They can get away with a very compact head assembly. You don't have that play. There's no wobble. You don't need to have the tallness to get the ball bearing spaced apart. Advantages. It allows the cylinder to be made flatter and lighter because the oil film replaces the heavy and space-consuming ball bearings. The bearings non-contact method realized by this oil film further enhances the rotational characteristics and accuracy. The durability is very high since the bearing friction is eliminated. Okay. Yes, there you go. That's the conventional one. Ball bearings, top and bottom. And yeah, the shaded in part is what spins around. This is the RF transformer assembly in there. And yeah, the fixed part in the center, and then the head cylinder on the outer part, and then the motor there in the bottom. Whereas here, do they have a vertical transformer, RF transformer thing? Maybe they do. That's around the shaft instead of at that angle to the shaft. Maybe that's one of the key things in making it, another key thing in making it thinner, because this here, there's quite a lot of space used up where the bearings are, whereas in this case it's just a thin sleeve, and so they can use up that space for the RF transformer part, and then the motor can be in there. So yeah, that does make it quite a bit less tall. Now, there's some servo descriptions there. The tension servo. Yes, I've done away with the back tension band in this because of the direct drive motors. And there's a little sensor that's used, tension sensor amplifier, supply real drive IC. Just a block diagram of the circuit that does that. System operation. Yeah, so there's the tuner timer. I have one of those, so we can look at that at some point. There's a wireless IR remote control that's received by that. There's just the standard AC adapter. I don't have one of those. Camera. Look at that. By serial data transmission, it can send and receive information. Yeah, that also means that in the display of the camera, it can put the timer, tape counter and things in there that gets sent from the VCR. Wired remote control we have, plug-in AC adapter, which we looked at. We saw it, we're using one. Descriptions of the luminance circuit, head amp circuit, which has the head switching in there for the depending on what mode it's in. Artificial vertical and horizontal sync, so that's for getting a clean picture when you're in the special playback modes. Then there's some block diagrams of the servo. Then there's a lot of descriptions about him. Picture of the nice thing is the motor, and it's in that direction of the stator horizontal, and then magnets on the flywheel. Oh yes, it shows where the Hall sensors are in there. Capstan motor. There's a lot of information in this. Good. Real radius detection. Yeah, so that's how it determines the amount of tape left. Oh no, it does multiple things. sort of changes the tension of tape depending on the speed that it's going on, so it packs the tape in nicely. I think that's what they're talking about there. Without reading it properly, just imagining what's in there. Real motors. Well, we're giving away the information here. Why don't we take a look inside the machine for real? What I was looking for was, where is the head that's gone bad? I might have to dig out another machine and we'll take that one apart. Let's have a look. Well, I don't know what's going on anymore. So here's the pinout of the camera connector. 10-pin camera, pretty common. There's another standard which is 14 pins, which is used by pretty much only Sony, maybe some other, maybe RCA, I can't remember. But most of the brands use this 10-pin connector. It's possibly a little bit limiting because, yeah, it's... I think in some machines, one of the grounds is replaced with the other audio to make it stereo. I think there's multiple designations for some of these other signals that they're using for clock and data here. Maybe with other brands, not sure. You pretty much get video out, or they actually use video in and out on the same pin here. Whereas I think that's one of those others would be used as the video to the camera in other systems that goes onto the viewfinder. I'm not sure, I can't remember. 12 volt ground, the camera pause switch, so by pushing that red button on the camera it will send a signal to the machine. Yeah, so it uses a way of detecting camera detection, camera connection detection on pin 1, the video signal. It says detect which type of... Oh, okay, so it's different depending on the type of camera. Okay, to detect what type of camera is connected, the microprocessor observes the voltage on pin 3 in those ones. If a normal camera, yeah, so not one of these ones that we have, a normal camera, I guess it's following the normal standard of a 10-pin cable, then, yeah, it does something else. Okay, so that's the data for the IR remote. Okay, so then there's the protocol for the data between the camera and the remote, and well, the camera and the VCR and those remotes. There's that bit. And we kind of skipped over that. Tells you how that works. Simple serial protocol. And then there's the one for the IR remote. VCR stuff. Mode switch there. Timing diagrams. Great, the training manual is quite good. It's available for all different models of VCRs, or series of VCRs at least. And here's the service manual for that stuff. So this goes through less of the details and more of the... What's that thing? Soldering iron. Ah, there's a service jig. Yeah, that allows you to get the boards folded out so you can access both sides of it. I was wondering about that. I was thinking, how can we get it apart while looking at it? So it has a summary user manual, and then it goes through how to take the thing apart. Head replacement. The problem we've got is I want to take apart a VCR, getting sidetracked again. So it's got full schematics for it, parts list, all different bits, power supplies, timer, tuner, VCR unit, exploded views, all the mechanical bits and pieces there, what they all do, where they are, and then full schematics and PCB layouts. All these nice fold out pages. But sure, what you want to do is actually see inside the machine. But I don't really want to take this one apart because this one works perfectly. So let's go and find another one and we'll take that apart. Can we get this on? Amazing, isn't it? Old as thing. It's just been sitting on the end of my bench for, I don't know, 1 to 2 years, maybe more. never touched it. Just turn it on, works perfectly. It's probably on its last legs, but yeah, for now it works very well. That's going kind of sticky. Look at that, perfect still picture. Still advanced. There's a slow tracking there. If we put it into slow mode. There we go, no noise bars on the screen. Yeah, it's pretty much perfectly aligned to the machine that recorded this, which, I don't know, that wasn't me. It's because the trackings are both in the center and it's perfectly smooth and good. Yeah, there's too much noise on the picture to display the fast forward, but it's pretty okay on the actual screen. Alright, I'm going to go and look for another machine for us to take apart. That was a very long introduction. Well, I found some more machines. A lot more machines. Very many more machines. So we turn that off. So this seems to be a good working order. Also found some other stuff along the way, as you do. Dug out a whole bunch of tapes. That's never even been opened. High-end VHS tapes. These, if they have anything on them, they will be Japanese. So they'll be in NTSC and we'll be able to play them in the NTSC machine. They just have such nice branding on these. So fancy. A bit old and going a bit spotty. Yeah, this stuff would have been expensive back in the day. It's not just the generic supermarket tapes, is it? It's like the real good stuff. Okay, there's some tapes, including one that's never been opened. Wow. Alright, first thing in the massive pile. This is a Canon branded unit. Look at that. So it's all the same thing, except it's got this extra hump on it here, which I'm guessing there's another PCB in there for dealing with the hi-fi sound. Never taken one of these apart. Got a whole stack of them in different brand names, waiting for us to investigate them. So similarly, it's got the stereo stuff going on there, but it has another, wow, a slightly different, oh, you can put it audio only mode, video or audio. It's a mix, I guess that's to mix normal and hi-fi, and then there's this switch for the audio output, which channel or just the normal non-hi-fi. So this one's from 1984, end of 1984, 12th month. It's very squeaky. Everything else is pretty much the same. Let's see if it works. I'm going to need to find an adapter since they have, it has the thing, the RCA instead of the BNC on it. Not sure why some regions use the RCA connectors exclusively and don't use BNC except in professional circumstance. Anyway, there you go. I might just put this tape in first. Why are we doing this? Is this a video now about the Canon machine? It doesn't sound all that happy, does it? It sounds like it's chewing the tape up. Well, it's creasing the tape at least. Yeah, look at that. Alright, so we won't put our fancy tapes in there to try it out. Yeah, the pinch roller in there is looking quite worse for wear, so perhaps we'll leave this one for another day. Just give it a little taste there. Maybe we should try the other NTSC ones while we're doing that. Pretty sure this one worked at one point. This is the Japanese model one. I don't know. Should we risk it by putting one of those fancy tapes in? Since obviously this isn't going to work because it's a PAL tape. Ah, but I can hear this one for sure has a head that's vibrating. Maybe this is the one we should take apart. Maybe you can hear that noise. I think the noise cancelling will put a stop to that. Let's just try one of these tapes in it to see, because these should at least have something on them. It does, look at that. Can you hear the loud noise that it's making? Not good. So this could be one that we should investigate for re-oiling the head. That's supposedly what this video is about. Also, what I found is another NV-180, and this one here says on it, no tape movement in play. Most of them that I've got, I had put notes on them to like remind me of what their status was back then, which presumably means the pinch roll has gone bad or something else, or something's up with the take up. The motor definitely works. Could be a cat stand motor's ruined. Yeah, look at that. No take up, or no tape movement, that is. Interesting. Be one for another day to investigate. Now we got this one here. Take up spins. I think that means that the motor's just out of control and just going hard out all the time. It seems to be fine now. Possible there's a dry joint or some bad connection or something. Take up real works. Ah. Okay, so it's another one that... I guess that's just the pinch roller's gone smooth in there. So it can't grip on the tape properly onto the edges of the shaft. But otherwise, that seems to be working fine. Interesting. Maybe these machines are just too reliable, other than... Right, here's another one. What does this say on it? It says, re-oiled the head working. So this is the one that I've taken the head apart before and put new oil into it. Let's see then if that continued to work. Seems like it. Yeah, that would have been a very long time ago that I did the re-oiling, which is why I can hardly remember anything about it. You'd have to leave it running for an hour or so to find out whether it actually made it good. Okay, I've got another one here that says, whatever that says on the bottom, picture has bad edges. I don't really know what that means. Let's find out. Don't know what that is, why it took a few goes. Yeah, the picture is a bit crusty looking on that. I don't know, it was just the tracking. Bad edges. It's got those little spikes on it that makes it seem like the grounding of the video head, maybe. The edges, I'm not sure what it meant by... I wonder why it says bad edges. Well, it's not that bad. Very well then. Okay, there's one more. I didn't bring all of them out, there are others. But one more that I brought out for us to look at. This one says nothing, so I don't know whether it has a problem or not. Ah, okay. Doesn't want to move. Ah, listen to that. Wow, you might not be able to hear that, but it has a video here that's making the noise. So this is probably a good one to take apart. So let's do that. Yes. You can hear the noise. That sounds like the video had gone bad. Or perfect. That's just what we wanted. So what you can do is you can give it a little bit of a poke just there. And you can stabilize it to check the function. Unfortunately though, there's another problem of this machine, so we'll have to take it apart, investigate that mechanical problem, and then we'll have a go at getting the head sorted out. So let's get this thing apart. Get rid of that for now. Get rid of that stuff. Let's get this out. Now, what's the procedure for taking these things apart? It's a bunch of screws. Start off with this back part. Pretty sure that just unclips. Make some clips at the other end of it. And then there's just 3 screws on the bottom for the main bottom panel. Good, look in the manual, it will tell us what to do. Now, that should just come off. Yes, like that. And see, the battery terminal slides out. You can also see a screw has come undone, just all by itself. Yes, so on the back there, there's 2 screws, and look at that, they both must have come undone. This machine has got grass and things inside it, and that screw is missing or trapped somewhere inside the machine. What is that? Another kind of grassy thing. So next there are 2 screws, one on each side of the control panel, which I think that allows the control panel to flip down or hinge up or something. Well, I think it frees the main cover from it. Yeah, there's a little tuning, the channel selection for the RF modulator there. Do we need to do something about that? Yes, I think we do. We need to undo these 2 screws here to separate this connector thing from the panel. And then we need to undo the connector or free those wires. And now this top cover can come up. You see the front panel hinges down. Yeah, what we have to do first is take the bottom off. Yes, and that will free the front. Look at that good stuff in there. Front comes off. When the front's off, then the top cover can come off because it's not resting on there anymore. Like that. Oh, and be careful about those pieces to do with the shoulder strap. I don't remember those coming out before. Maybe someone's been rough with it. Broken the clips off. Looks like it. Interesting. Anyway, I'm not too worried about putting this thing back together at the end because I've got so many of them and we need one to play with. That reminds me, I have actually got I have more of these already in bits. What is that? Oh, that's why that side thing comes off, because that's snapped off. Yeah, I guess this one has been treated a little bit roughly. Has been treated rough. Alright, what we got to do is to, because we're just experimenting, we'll make a modification to this to get this spring out of there, plug this back in, and that will allow us to have the power supply thing plugged in permanently and not being pushed out by that spring. Get that around the right way. So now I can just sit there with that plugged in, because normally the spring will push that out of the way. See the controls. I'll put this tape back in and we'll just poke it around a bit to see. Maybe we'll put this one in the tape husk. I just want to check the capstan running when it's in play mode. We can see what's going on there. Now the capstan doesn't move at all in play mode. That's interesting. So I wonder if that's I don't know, the capstan doesn't move. So that's the reason why the tape's not moving in play mode. It seems like it has seized up. If that's the only thing wrong with it, yeah, look at that, it's completely seized up. Cannot turn it at all. Alright. If that's the case, it might be an easy fix then of work, like a mechanical fix rather than like the motor drive is burnt out or something. But presumably the grease in there has gone bad. So the head's a little bit wobbly. So we're going to take out the head. We've got to re-grease that. Can we trick it if there's a tape in there? Just run it a bit more. Yes. So the head is definitely running badly, making noise. So we're going to try taking that apart, re-lubricating the shaft inside there, and we're also going to take a look at that thing, the capstan. Why is that stuck? Oh, took that off without taking the tape out first. We'll get the tape out. Alright, so in order to get this thing apart, we just take the control panel off. Connectors there. Now, we don't need to worry about this too much, but we're going to have to get this bottom board off in order to access the screws that are holding the head in, head drum. So that means we have to take out quite a lot of stuff. So this board on the front, hinge down, once you undo these clips. And then behind that, there is, I think it's servo or power supply board there. There's some screws to undo. Some connectors to undo. It's like a little subboard thing there. I'm not sure what that's about. Is it some kind of bodge? And then there's 3 screws in this board, and then that will unplug with those connectors there. So wondering, I need to dig out the other one of these machines that I've got in bits, because we can probably steal a new capstan motor from that if we can't get this one freed up. Okay, and we've also got to unplug that, or unplug itself. So that's the right protect tab switch there, which needs to be disconnected so this board can fold out. So this will lift up now and unplug itself. Hopefully, well, not easily. Maybe it can just stay in and this board can fold out on itself. Oh, that's one of those letters that, those things that come with your videotape that stick on. Okay, so the red screws will undo to allow access for servicing, so that should fold this board out. But we have to undo these connectors and probably various other things in order to get it out. that to the side. I think we have to undo that. Will we have to do... What else do we have to undo? There's also a board on the back. We have to undo that, or it has to be unplugged. Is that true? These are very thin PCBs, so they'll get damaged easily by people like me being rough with them. Maybe we should pry it out. Pry out those sub boards. And now that's coming out. I don't know if that's a good idea to have that thing falling out. I also don't want that cable to be accidentally shorting something. Now, we have to get that out. Disconnect that cable. We could get this one out. Disconnect that cable. Now, what else has to happen? I thought there was like more cables coming from the real cable, the real motors. Where are they? Don't understand. I think they're plugged in under there, so yeah, there's the other one of those bits from the shoulder strap. So we do have to get this out because it will expose more connectors. That's being quite tricky. Persuader. People are going to be upset because I'm being too rough with this thing. Okay, so there's the servo board out, and what that exposes is the two connectors that go to the real motors, and this other connector that I think comes from the mode switch or something else up there. Now then there's that cable there, comes undone. Yeah, okay, so we need to leave that board there because it's got the connections off the video head. So we'll just unconnect that. And then that exposes a whole bunch of other cables that need to be undone. Here we go, look at that. Now we've got access to the capstan motor. Okay, so that's just fallen down a bit. Interesting, so something under it's messed up. And we've also got access to the screws that are holding the video head in. Let's get that out first. Wait a minute. Weird. Okay, so it's got a screw that's between a 1 and a 2. Interesting. But we also have to undo the ESD, like static charge build-up thing. Otherwise we're going to munt it when the head comes out. Got to be careful. Probably wasn't careful enough that it doesn't destroy the video head on the way out. They weren't in the right position for that, so that's good. We have to undo the video cables as well. Oops. Well, the RF cables from the video head. Annoying, there's a little covered thing there. Alright. Video head extracted. And while we're at it, okay, now that's come free. Let's have a look at this. What's going on there? Hopefully the drive circuit for this is still okay. Some kind of grease. Is it just a blob? Why is that fallen down? It's just stalled because it's stuck against the coils there. The magnet, something is supposed to be pushing it away. Don't know. Well, there's a little notch in that shaft there. Maybe something happened. Oops. Yeah, something happened. Something happened. Yeah, I think there was a little retaining thing. This. Oops, that was in there and it clicked out or something. Oh, look, there's a ball bearing there. Do you think that goes that way? Depends how thick that thing is. Could it just be that that thing here clicked itself out? I suppose it's possible. Oh, that doesn't make sense. Is that supposed to be retained on there? Yeah, see that? It's all down to that like little cap thing. See, it's good now, but slight amount of pressure and it pulls out. Ah, look, it's cracked. There is a crack. There's a crack in it. Okay, so that's why it's happened, because that piece has, under the stress of being forced over that, has popped out. Alright, so that's that then. Okay, so we're going to find another mechanism to take the motor from, and we're going to take this apart, the video head, and have a look inside it. Shortly, I'll go and find some bits. There's so much stuff here. Look at what I found. That's what I was looking for, another one of these NV-180s, already in bits, so that should be a lot easier for us to get the capstan motor out of it. I also found along the way a fancier version. It's the AG. There's several variants of this. Well, models in this range. AG 6400. It is like a more industrial version that's got the standard 4-pin XLR for the 12-volt input. It also has hi-fi audio. They call it HD audio. More connections there. Even a time code in and out. Proper stereo audio in and out connections, mic in and out selections there. But there's another version of this, can't remember the model number offhand, that has it's SVHS as well, and it's got S-video plugs, so that's quite exciting. This one here is in really good condition, hardly used. The problem with it was one of the motor drives had popped itself for some reason, so they would replace that with a compatible model and get it running again. I was going to scrap it, and then I thought, oh, let's just try to fix it. And yeah, traced the problem back, because it was just dead, completely dead. Because these things normally make a little noise when you turn it on from the loading motor, whereas this one did nothing. And yeah, traced that back to no power going to the loading motor, yet control signals were still going to the loading motor driver circuit. Yes, this isn't going to be easy to get out, is it? Because we're going to have to take the whole thing apart. I'll just get this motor out in my time and then show you once I've got it out. That will be easier here. Because I've run out of space and I don't really want to move all this that we're working on. Workbenches are always too full. Okay, I'll get back to you once I got the capstan motor out of this other one. But I think we should test it first. Should we test it? Alright, let's do that then. Surely you want to see what happens when we test it. Although it's kind of off screen, but whatever. Oh. Okay, so that also has some problems with the capstan motor. I don't know, I think it's just a dried out, whatever you call that thing. The pinroll is dried out, but what we can see here is Where's the thing gone? It works, but it's also got a shaky head. So if you stabilize it, you can't always do, but if you can stabilize it, the picture does come back fine. Yeah, so that's another one that we should poke about to see if we can re-lubricate the head successfully. It's otherwise a functioning machine. I'll get the capstan motor out of it so we can put it into this one. Alright, got capstan motor out. And this one is still in an alright condition. Although it's one that suffered a fair bit of pitting on the shaft. So perhaps we should swap the shafts over. Well, not the shafts, like the whole rotor part. We can do that without destroying this sleeve thing on this one. That'll be just the thing, won't it? Let's wreck more than one of them. It clicks into place. Great, that's good. This little retaining thing, I'm not really sure what the point of that is, because it just stops it from flopping out. Okay, so now we've got a good capstan motor. Pop that in there and do the screws up. Okay, so that should be good. Now we'll just move this stuff out of the way and we'll move focus to the video head. Now we're going to wipe this down. Touching precision equipment in a dirty environment. A lot of dross has come out of this machine since it's been turned upside down. Okay, good. Now, video head, we're going to take it apart. Now, let's read the warnings about this thing first, because they're very clear that you should not be taking this apart. Right here, look at that. Caution, do not loose the 3 small screws on the top of the cylinder as shown. If these 3 small screws are loosened, cylinder motor is broken and it cannot remake. So, let's don't loosen, untighten, remove these screws. So that's exactly what we're going to do right now. We're going to loosen those screws. I'm pretty sure they used a Torx or something in there. Got this screwdriver thing. Oh yeah, that seems to be the go. Well, it's going to be, so it's a T7, T6. I guess it's a 6.5 because it almost goes in on the 7. What is there? Like between sizes. I don't know what these things are. It's some other thing. No, it's not that. I don't know. There's too many different types of screwdriver thingy these days. Something from the 80s. So, what do we need to take apart here? Don't think we can take anything off the bottom. Already made a mess of this thing. Okay, so the shaft is fused in at the bottom there. Let's just take those screws off and see what happens. There must be some kind of retaining thing in there. So that thing there was pushing down on the shaft. Ah, look at that. Yeah, so there is the very special frustinator thing. That spiral pad in there. I'm guessing that grease has gone bad, or it's wallowed out or something. It does look like a grease rather than an oil. See the special pattern there that pumps the grease into the center to thrust out. Now there's a circlip thing on that. This is why I washed my hands, but so we need to get that off in order to continue. I guess I've done it before. I don't have any kind of circlip undoing equipment. Need to get 2 small screwdrivers. Look at this. This is like the fancy version of those cheap screwdrivers. This is the real made in Japan version. But yeah, the small ones are really small. I think I have multiple sets of this that have different variety of things in them. Do I? Yes, I do. Look, there's another one. Oh, that one's got more flat options. We also have this, which is another. That's the typical type. Though it's a Japanese one. Oh, these are all. I didn't even know I had this. It's just been hiding in the drawer. Number 100 and down to 40 JIS. Does feel a bit better than the normal like dollar store crappy ones that you usually get. So this here has got wider flat blades, which is what I think we need here. We need something like that to go down there and push these thingies apart. No, that's no good, is it? Just making a mess of it. There we go. There you go, look at that. It's easy to get the circlip off. Circlip is off. Now, we can slide this head drum upper assembly off completely. Now we can see what's going on in there. Look at that. The stator for the motor part and the stationary part of the what do you call that thing, the RF transformer, the other part in there, and then the magnet and the extra little magnet which bumps into that little hall sensor there once per rotation. Is that the PG or the FG pulse it uses to get the timing right? So that shaft there has got very special indentations on it for making the oil business work. So probably need to ream something down there to clean this out of the old oil. Get all kinds of gross fluff and stuff stuck in there at the same time. And then similarly on this part. And then I'm just going to smear some new grease on it and we'll just chuck it back together and see if it works. Very scientific approach. So I wonder if, is it possible that the reason why it's going bad is that this brass looking part has like reamed out a bit? I don't think so, because if that was the case, that bit that we shoved down its hole would have that would have discolored from grindings of material, but that's not what's happened. Go and find the grease. So much equipment is needed. Look at this. Ceramic grease. Tamiya. Poke a bit of this grease down there and put it back together, and then we'll see what it does. Because this looks, the consistency of this stuff, this is very old now. Had it for a long time. Well, I would have bought this in 2005. I know because I remember getting it, and the reason why I got it was to re-lubricate the mechanism of a Laserdisc player. I remember where I was living at the time that I got it. So what's going to happen is when we put this top piece back on, this part, it's going to smear all the grease around, so I'm not really sure what the best way of getting it in there and staying in there. Maybe we should insert it multiple times. How much does it need? There is a rim in there, which might be some kind of reservoir. Maybe what we should do is put some on the end of a screwdriver, a clean screwdriver, and try and shove it into the rim. I'm just making all this up because they tell you do not take this thing apart, but yeah, we're taking it apart. Maybe this will help you on re-lubricating your machine. And I have also some like non-portable VCRs that have this same problem of the head vibrating. So we'll take apart some of those heads at some point as well and see if we can resurrect them. An NV-FS80 maybe? I know it's not a 100, but it's something getting up there. I don't know if it's enough grease, because it all gets pushed out and goes up to the top. Do you think we need to put the circlip back on? No? What is it going to help? Not going to help anything. This is just a test. What if that's enough grease in the top? Would be way too much. Oh, it just squishes off to the side. Should we put the circlip back on? I don't know, it doesn't matter. Let's just put this thing back together and then clean it very thoroughly. These screws are not magnetic. That sort of flops around. When you're holding it, make sure to hold on the sides, not this side where the little heads stick out, so to avoid messing that up, avoid breaking the heads off. Well, there it is. We'll put this thing all back together and we'll see, will it blend? Does it work? Alright, putting the head back in the machine. Cleaning the head, that's also a thing that we need to do. I need to organize some equipment for that. What I'm going to do is use a tissue to get most of the fingerprints and grossness off of it, and then we'll use a bit of paper to do a proper clean of it later. Well, once it's installed. The tricky thing is going to be getting that wire back in for the video signal. Oh no, it's not, is it? Because we don't have to worry about that until the head's mounted up. So let's clean it first. And I'm going to get rid of that little grease spot on the top so that I can touch it without getting my hands dirty, because I'll be lifting it up into position. Somewhere there's 3 weird screws. It's almost like that Posy, but with a slot. We'll get some IPA and we'll give this a really good wiping on the bottom part, doing it away from where the heads are, because we don't want to ruin the heads. You should not wipe over the heads with this type of tissue, whatever you call that thing, because the fibers of it will get stuck in the head gap and make them sad. But clean the other parts of it. You're really careful. just because I touched it with the oily fingers. Do not want oily stuff on the head drum. Right, so that's good. Now just offer it up and put the screws in. Try not to bash it into things on the way. Or do that with it. Okay. I think that's, yep, that's in position. Got 3 screws to do up. Just do them up loosely to start with, just to make sure that it centers itself properly. Feels good, so we'll tighten them up properly. Fully, tighten them up fully. Great. Oops, head drum is installed. Some weird greasy stuff on there. Maybe that leaked out of the head. Don't know. No, I think it's from the threading ramp thing. I think that means we can put this board back down now. I'm just going to plug in quite a lot of things along the way. Okay, so we did need to put that circlip in. Okay, let's just leave that aside. Alright. Yes, it's very important that you put the circlip back in, because otherwise the head will just fall off, because it's sitting, it's just sort of balancing in with the magnetism, isn't it? Do we need to put any of these cables in before we do the bottom bits? I don't think so. Just thinking about getting these in position before, yeah, because they're pretty fiddly. Now we've got the front ones. Yeah, that's difficult. And okay, so there's these 2 here, which are for the real motors. Two ribbon cables there. I wonder if that one was in far enough. Yeah, it was. Okay, and then there's that center one which goes to the other stuff. Unknown other stuff. Then there's that. Now over here we've got, yeah, these 2, brown one, green one to go in. Then we've got this here, there's a black wire there. Then on this assembly there's that wire there's got to go in. Need a poking device to get that in. I think that's in. Okay, what a mess. Now this thing here squeezes down onto its connectors. Presumably like that. And then similarly this front one, that goes connector there, and then that squeezes down onto connectors. Like that. Okay, I think that's enough stuff hooked up that we can run it. Although we've got this to deal with now. Well, we can test it like this. That just pops on there. Okay. Do we have to plug in anything else? Oh, we need this at least. The controls. The tracking controls, maybe they need to be hooked up. Yeah, so it's a compact machine. It's quite fiddly to work on because of that. And I think we're ready to try it. Well, we're going to clean the head properly now that we've got everything back together. Paper, isopropyl alcohol. Hold it against the head and turn anti-clockwise. Make sure that the leading edge is slightly open so you're not banging the head on the edge of the paper. And yeah, that's pretty clean. Do we need to bother about the other bits and pieces? Let's just give them a little bit of a going over. We should have done that before doing the head so that any touching of the head gets dealt with. You find these portable machines are often quite clean inside them because they've someone's bought it with great aspirations and then used it once and then chucked it in a cupboard and never touched it again. Alright, token cleaning. Let's hook up the power supply and see what happens. Presumably you plugged all the bits and pieces back in the right place. Good. Connect up the video signal. It's got some noise. I forgot to put in the grounding thing. Let's see if that was the sole reason for it looking a bit noisy. We could have ruined all sorts of things in the process. Keep the head grounded. Yeah, moderate. The picture looks kind of rough. Well, did we? We hadn't run this machine originally, so I'm not sure if there were other problems with it because the capstan was stuck, wasn't it? But the re-oiling attempt on the head seems to have been successful. Ah, look at that. When you use the pause or the slow, the picture is very nice. So that suggests there's a problem. Is that right? Is there a problem on the heads that are used during normal playback? I wonder if we should give it a bit more of a severe cleaning of the head. Just see if that helps it. Maybe I accidentally poked the head and destroyed it. I want to upset it somehow. Well, it's not vibrating anymore, so that's a win. We've proven the point that if you put some grease in there, you can get it running stable again, but for how long, who knows. Well, maybe we do know, because we tested the other machine which I had re-oiled and it was alright still. There's something else a bit dodgy going on. So I didn't refit that cover thing at the back. Look how important that is. That little shield there. Surely it's there for a reason. Well, I think we're going to have to end it there because that was a very long going through of the... We looked at quite a lot of things to do with the NV-180. We looked at a bunch of other machines that will perhaps feature in upcoming videos, especially those hi-fi and other NTSC models, since we want to have a poke around inside those. And we'll also in the future have a go at re-lubricating some of the other heads that are used in the like standard home type VCRs rather than these portable VCRs. So let me know what you think about this, and perhaps that will change my mind about what I do in the next videos. It might be a way away before other ones, because I have a whole bunch of other videos I was planning to make before looking at this, and then someone asked about sorting out the heads in these machines, so I decided to do the video. So there you go. Yeah, could go on about stuff all night. The picture seems to have calmed down now. That kind of thing makes me think that there are electrolytics going bad, and that as the machine warms up a little bit, that they kind of fall back in line as it is. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't have much experience of debugging the video-related problems in VCRs, because I mainly played around in the mechanical aspects. But as these things are very old, it wouldn't be surprising if some of those electrolytics are giving trouble now. And there's heaps of them, and they are very small. Just poking around on things to see if the problems get worse or not. But the picture's more or less cleaned itself up. Should we go to a far further in point of the tape and see if it's different? That's the great thing about this model VCR, that it's not going to have a weak rewind or fast forward, because it's more or less directly driven off the motors. One of them, we need to take one apart more in a future video, but one of the reels is directly driven, the other one's got a planetary gear reduction on it. But there's nothing to slip, which just means that the back tension is never going to go bad, because it's just a light sensor that the little lever is riding on, and man, it's all good. Yeah, the picture's still a little bit dodgy. Alright, so hopefully that was enjoyable, and stay tuned for next video. I would like to get back to a weekly release of video schedule, but there's been quite a lot of other things going on in the last few months that has made that very difficult. But I'll see what I can do, just because I want to get through all these machines, because we've got so many to look at. So it's about 15 minutes later now, and I haven't stopped or touched this machine. I just did some cleaning up of all the mess that we made, and the picture seems to have tidied itself up quite a bit. So I think that adds weight to the theory that the capacitors are going bad in the video processing or head switching or something like that, and that was probably responsible for the poor image quality. And now it's warmed up, and it's reasonable as you can expect from a nice old VHS machine. Very bad picture to do slow motion on. It's a pretty good image. So there you go. A look at NV-180, similar VCRs, and a go at re-lubricating the oil frosting head bearing thingy, and it seems to be successful. So you might be able to do that to your old VCRs and get them running nicely again.